Hopefully that's better. Let's see if I'm still here. Just looking around, trying to figure out what happened here. Oh well. Do I at least sound mediocre now? I have no idea what happened. I literally restarted my whole machine. Um, I saw things were pegged, and that was bad. I should pull that thing down. But anyway, we're back. So I've got a lot of stuff. I've got 4 plague marines, a mixture of different spouty, spewy things that I need to add to my army. So I've got some anti-infantry stuff floating around. I've got a Demogorgon. It's sort of a commission from one of my kids' friends. This should actually be pretty easy. I think this is just going to be a dry brush, a wash, and yeah, and that's probably it. I am going to click a couple things before I get underway. Have a sip of tea, sort things out, do this guy, add things live, edit that, make that thing private. Oh man, what an end to a week. Anyhow, I've got my AV situation hopefully handled. It required a complete restart, which is always fun. I've also got some of these scarabs that came with my Necron warriors, and so I'm going to hit them up pretty simply. They're going to get dry brushed like my Necrons did with whatever this color is, Sycorax bronze, and then I got some new fluorescent crap to do with them. So that should be interesting. But I'm going to start by dry brushing. I'm going to get through as much of this Demogorgon as I can. I think he's just going to get a dry brush. He'll get some red in his mouth, maybe a little bit of white on the teeth, and a wash maybe, and that'll be done. It's thankfully Demogorgons are pretty they're interesting characters, but they're not a whole heck of a lot to paint. So I'll just knock this guy out. Oh, the other thing I got to do is try to do a Stranger Things portal underneath him. That part should be a challenge. That part, that's where the fun will come in. There's no paint on you. That's better. Whew. What a start. Oh yeah, that's just bringing all of that up nicely. All that texture and stuff. I may scooch my camera a little bit so I've got a little bit more breathing room. But it is kind of nice when it's close. How's your week, Lizard? Good end to it? You enjoying the weekend? You're already deep in the weekend. I didn't totally deafen you. This guy a little bit more heavily. I have not much planned this weekend. I am going to pick up, hopefully at some point, only partially. I am going to pick up some Sisters of Battle. I might actually get the Combat Patrol because it's going to take me a while to get up to speed on how to paint them at all. At least if I get the Combat Patrol, at any given time, I can sort of play that format with them or hand them over to a buddy. They can do that. Play on the other side as them. I did get a lot of chores done in terms of this room, in terms of this office and painting space, which is good. I feel pretty good about that. Just a lot of organizational stuff. Working on my photo space. Organizing some of my new paints. Did a decent amount of airbrushing, which is always a hoot. I think that's probably enough. I'm gonna give him a little dash more. I need something a little lighter than Dawnstone, I think. I don't think I have anything a little lighter than Dawnstone. Doubt I do. Oh. Oh. Sylvester Gray. All right. Let's do that. Give this guy a shake. Oh, man. Nothing better than pushing all the exact same buttons you push every time you go live and seeing the audio meter pegged on OBS and having no idea what to do about it. And even muting the mic didn't work, so I'm thinking it was a connectivity-ish thing. I do run, you can only imagine how many USB ports I have cooking. Yeah, this is a little bit stronger. That's the good stuff. Now we'll get a crap ton of depth on this guy. No doubt. Yeah, I've been talking to this guy, Erebus, and this other guy. Oh, what's the doctor's name? Flavius Bile. Flavius Bile. I'm talking with them. I had a brief cataract surgery. Somehow my voice is different now. Listen to me a lot more intently. All right, so now this guy has got, woof, look at that, all kinds of texture depth on him. And this is a very soft D&D mini. It's a little weird priming him. The other thing is I can't put him on a handle because his base is also just like rubber. That's all good. Look at that. Nice and textural. All right, so get his, I was going to call it an ear. That's not an ear. It's part of his mouth. That guy done like that. I think I actually just want black wash. It's going to be a bit of a challenge. Hey, I found a random piece. I found him also like not terribly prepared. Wet paints. Figure that out. I don't have a piece of paper on this thing. So, yes, it will absolutely curl up the second I put it on here, but I'm basically just going to wet the daylights out of this thing. Lay it down one way, then lay it down the other. Cross my fingers. As it tries to roll in on itself. I won't allow that. There we go. Not as hard as people let on. Quick, fast, in a hurry. There we go. Now I got a wet palette again. Fresh wet palette. Always feels good. All right. Get this guy a washing. I think. Oh, there it is. I think I'm just going to give him a black wash. Don't think I want to go into crazy color territory. So I'll just give him a few dabs. And it's probably just going to get a red wash in his face. Let's see about that. Yeah, black is the way to go. Black is always very solid. I'm going pretty thin with the wash here because his texture's pretty dominant there, but I don't want any pooling on this guy. There's nothing metallic about this guy. I just want those deeper spots to pop a little bit. It can look very, very textured. Get some more of this stuff. I hit him with a red wash in his face. And I might sneak some blood for the blood god in there. Might. Because it's kind of gloopy. Gloopy's good. Smile for the camera, buddy. You are going to get a little black in your face, though. There's all kinds of little details in there. It is weird painting this thing because it's so rubbery. It's like squishy. I finished the End in the Death Part 2. I started writing a script for what is going to be the first chapter out of, I don't know, 8 million that I do about just the alpha and omega of the Horus heresy. I'm going to get it started now so that I'm sort of queued up by the time the third book comes. But, man, there's some spoilers. Sanguinius takes a beating. Oh my gosh. It was, it was tough. Tough reading. Alright, so look at that guy. Look at how nice and textured he is. We'll grab a dab of red wash. Pile that in there too. Maybe I'll use something a little bit poppier. I'll use Carabug Crimson instead of just straight up Viejo red wash. Dude can't catch a break. Love your sense of humor. Dude, he gets wrecked. And the thing is, like, for a long time, Horus is like letting him sort of feel okay about how he's doing, and Horus is getting chopped up a bit, but he just like doesn't care. And I don't want to say too much, but very casually, when Horus decides it's time to just like call it, Horus basically is like, well, you know, Sanguinius' advantage is that this is like a, you know, three-dimensional battle, and he's got elevation. And then Horus decides he'll just reach into the 8th dimension to get his big claw hand around Sanguinius' leg. That's how he does it. Like, yep, I guess I'm just gonna reach into the 8th dimension. Like foregoing time, whatever other few dimensions there are. It was very well written. It was just like, well, you have access to the 8th dimension. I guess you got a slight advantage. All right. Yeah, some real red in there too on top of it. That'll be good. Then I'll have to think about the base. This guy is going to need some blood for the blood god, but I'll put that on after. So my thoughts are, I've got new paints. I messed around with the super strong yellow earlier. That was great. Here's what I'm working with. Scale 75 effect Fleur. I messed with that stuff on whichever freaking gun. It's not the lava lance. It's the other one on my tyrant. And it looks really cool. And it's very shiny when under a black light, or UV light, excuse me, not black light. I don't even know, but maybe black lights are UV lights. But I should pop my browser open again. I need to do a Stranger Things sort of portal. And how I'm going to do that is by looking one up, because I haven't seen one in a few months. Come up with a plan. All right, so it's basically glop around the thing. And then orange or extreme red, and it's got a glow to it. How am I going to handle that? There's not a lot of real estate underneath here. I may be able to... I don't think I'm actually going to raise any of this up. Because in order to do it, the space would have to actually, for it to make sense, be bigger than this. So what I think I'm going to do is just sort of like a crack down the middle, and then some of the tendril stuff going lefty righty. This could get weird, but I like it when things get weird. Look here. I need a producer. So this stuff, potent red ecstasy, it's called. Oh, I gotta poke a hole in this thing to get the stuff out. But this stuff airbrushed really nicely. The package says literally like, hey, you can airbrush with this. You can brush with this. All right, give that a shot. Airbrushed really nice. It's pretty smooth stuff right out of the bottle, and thankfully it easily comes out of the bottle. All right, a brush. The kingdom for a brush. What I'm guessing I'm going to have to do is I'll lay some of this down in sort of a creak crack sort of thing. I think I'll have to use some actual red. I may need to wash over this, but with a bunch of different things going on, it should be neat and shiny. And then sort of as a treat, if a special light gets over it, it'll get shiny. So basically, I just have a crevasse there, and I'm going to load up a decent amount of this paint on here, just so that it gets a lot of that shiny pigmentation going on. It needs to be kind of thick. Wash this brush, play with my toy over here. Hopefully this doesn't make too much noise. Doesn't make any noise? See that? It kind of glows, not that much. It might need to dry. And there's really not a very effective way for me to do that. Anyway, that was a fail. But now I can let this guy dry. He'll dry with that. He'll get white. He'll get red over it again. He'll get some blood for the blood god. These guys I can very quickly get up to near table ready. I'll dry brush them in Sycorax bronze, which is nothing like Warplock bronze. Makes me wonder just which one of those is really bronze-like. The other things I picked up was metallic stuff from Viejo. And I'm hoping that the very last one in here is a good substitute for Warplock bronze, so I can get a cheaper solution going for that. And a smoother solution that doesn't completely and utterly dry out. There we go. Oh, dry brushing, you are fun. I think this is probably the quickest model anyone ever paints of these guys. Just like, what do? I prime them in black, dry brush them with something metallic, put some colors on them, call it. And they're even like super built for it. Like all those little legs coming out when you dry brush them. They're already like sitting on a little bit of a floaty base kind of situation. I love Viejo, man. Their stuff is good. It's I've been very pleased with their stuff. I still haven't gotten my the Army Painter stuff in the mail yet. A little disappointing, but it ships from Europe, and I know they're not shipping it fast because it's a review copy. But I was sort of hoping to crack into these guys with that, but I still have a few more Plague Marines to put together. Look at that, just like right out the gate. Easy peasy. Metally looking dudes. Now, twist on this is that these guys are also getting a very neon treatment. hope is I'm going to try at some point with the airbrush is get some source lighting going on these with this stuff. So um, it's already got Tesseract glow going. If I just very, very carefully, those guys might start looking even cooler. Diorama. So I'm finding out that like Vallejo's kind of like an empire. I'm pretty sure, though I haven't verified this with anyone, that Vallejo and AK are in fact the same company, or at the very least started by the same person. Certainly could be a case that they started up one company and then left it and then started up another, which is kind of cool. But there's a few other brands that are also like part of AK. Basically, the Spain's paint conglomerate. All right, scooch these guys so they're all in here. So this just gets adult. I'll get their little butts too. I think I shouldn't have watered this down at all. All right, let's do some liquid recovery here. There we go. This might not do well on a wet palette. It's relatively smooth to begin with. It's interesting. I think I've only airbrushed with it so far. Dig a little bit more of this out. Yoink. Yeah, Spain is a hotbed of modeling paint activity. I do want a little bit of glow, so I've got to get this stuff a little bit around those little spheres in there. This is fine if this takes 2 coats. In fact, it probably would have made sense to make the first coat pretty wet and have it just sort of go down as a wash between the cracks. May end up doing that. We'll see. You can see it's not very consistent. This is if I just dab it on that circle. And maybe that looks better. Maybe. Maybe I just learned something. But I feel like getting a little bit more in here is the right thing to do. I'm going to force it around. And then maybe when it dries, I'll put another fresh glop on the main dot. It'll stand out a bit. This also might get a wash too. Everybody gets a wash. Look how shiny those bugs are. I'm going to need more of this junk. There and scooch it around with the brush. That's a lot of paint buster. There we go. This stuff is definitely not grim or dark. Blink. Oh, when are they? That's like super soon, right? We're like in hours territory. I think. Lost track over the course of the day. Half an hour or so. Yeah, I'll check it out. I'll put it up on the screen. I can do some multimedia stuff on this stream. I think it would be good if I could have a reference monitor floating in here, and no time to try it like on a night you've already had AV problems. Double down. Be a slave to the AV monsters. Oop. This. Get your nose cleaned up, buddy. So. Where are they streaming that stuff? Is it on Twitch? That might complicate things for me. I'll probably just check it out afterwards, or I'll have it on my phone and glance over and just make rude comments. So many bugs. So many bugs. Thugs got so many bugs. Yeah, Twitch. I do wonder if I should go over to Twitch and then just do the repost of stuff here. I'm like the only person anybody that I know knows like actively streams on YouTube. It's such a classic old man thing. It's like, well, I already know how to use YouTube. Ah. I do like Twitch. We're just gonna get all these dots. Was a part of the YouTube generation, not the Twitch generation. Moderate for 4 streamers there. That's awesome. Yeah, I will admit I'm reasonably, while I do watch stuff on Twitch, I'm reasonably out of touch around like it as a scene. Have you ever heard of a guy called DJ Wheat? He's a big shoutcasty guy. Bark on the days. Sip of tea. He's a pig. He was. I don't know. I mean, I know he still does like a lot of Twitch stuff, but he's got a full time job now. So working at the company I work at, but he's pretty cool. Keep up with his stuff. He was pretty prolific in the shoutcasting, and honestly, he's pretty prolific in the startings of Twitch. He's one of those like forefather dudes. He's also a really awesome guy. It's nice when you meet people that have a degree of fame, and it turns out they're actually pretty kind, normal people. He is. He's a super nice dude. And he cares a lot about communities. Surprise, surprise. All right, so those guys are getting freaky. That's good. They may actually just be straight up done. This guy's kind of drying out. I think I should move over to some plague merinos. Get some base coats going on these dudes. Everything can't be neon all the time. I am hoping though that I'm hoping a couple things. One, that I have very high hopes for this white fluorescent because I'm curious if I undercoat with it, if it'll still make some random stuff shiny, because that would be neat. Might be a neat effect. Like if I had, my stuff isn't over here anymore, but if I had with Typhus under his like sparkly warp stuff, undercoated it with white, like fluorescent white, I wonder what that would have done. Wraithbone. The old standard. The classic. I'm going to blitz through getting. I got my guy here. The shins, the thighs, and the bracers. Sure, they're bracers. Why not? Get all those knocked out. Do I have a bigger brush that is not beaten all to heck? That guy's a little bigger. He'll do. He'll do. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm picking up some sisters tomorrow. I am absolutely at a point where I have no pile of shame whatsoever. I don't think I even have. I have like extra bits off of my Plague Marine sprues, but I don't think I have any bodies anymore. So I'm clear for takeoff. I am ready to rock. I might actually see if it can just how quickly I can get some stuff maybe overnight from Amazon. Yeah, I don't have to go that fast. I still got this stuff to finish. I'm eager for new things though. New stuff, fun. All over this. Don't really worry how much shows through. The expectation that this will single coat is pretty low. Going over black. How does that thing work? Is that the end of the knee or not? Check the other one. Got some weird geometry going there. I'm going to let him keep it for now. I'm not going to hit that with white just yet. Here we go. Yeah, it's good to be back script writing. Not that I stick to my scripts all that well when I record this lore junk, but this one's kind of a lot to work through. The story of the Horus Heresy is out about one massive loop, several sub loops to it. Like when people try to define the core loop of a video game, really. And there is a lot to sort of digest. It plays a ton with time, of course. There are some pretty important themes in there. I like Erebus a lot. He's a terrible, terrible person, but man, as a character, he's fantastic. Yeah, that's one thing I didn't look up is like the sisters box. Like how usable is it? Maybe I shouldn't bother with that. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I'll just go in and buy 500 points worth of stuff. Um, I mean, what I like about it is I think it's got a tank or a transport in it. That's a bonus. Um, Painting one that doesn't look like a meat sandwich would be kind of neat. Um, I mean, honestly, I need stuff to practice on before I end up doing what the Triumph of St. Catherine, that thing. The dope ride. Basically, I need some little ladies. Ah, it only comes with 3 in this little box of 10. Ah, can you use them as a squad of 3 outside of a combat patrol? Get these teeth while I'm at it. Here you go, guys. One free coat of light paint. Chompy, chompy, chompy. Yeah, you look good. Preschool paint job. It's me. Yeah, I'll sort that junk out when I get there. I'm such a freaking pre-teenager when I'm in a store that has models. Like I swear, every single time I have a night model in my hands, and it is a direct possibility that I might just buy it. Like I have to genuinely tell myself, like, just maybe not right now, buddy. So I did say before, maybe I'll just do a whole Knight's Army. I think the main reason I didn't recently, the last time I went in, is I don't think they had a lot of knights. The internet has a lot of knights. The internet has all kinds of stuff. Nothing can stop you when you use the internet. All right, I gotta get that little hand that's in this ka-chunk gun. Yeah, I don't know where to start with this next lore video, but I'll do a bunch of writing. Something will pop up. I don't think I have to wholesale go back and read the first Horus Heresy book just to get started. But man, there are a lot of tie-ins and a lot of callbacks, a ton of them to the very beginning. A little painful. It's good. It's really good. It's good storytelling. But then describing it to someone, you immediately go into like frothing at the mouth, and then, and I need some themes. Stay centered while I'm losing my mind, get rapping about it. You got the shaky hands, brother. Stretch out a little bit. tracer thing going. That's one down. We'll hit some of his other stuff like this big old bone spike thing. And no matter what, that needs a white base coat. And Wraithbone is good stuff. I do have to listen to my body though. My left arm's been in a very awkward position for like most of the time. Now I'm getting the shakes. Let's stretch that out. Let my arm chill out a little bit. And I will test some AV stuff. Let's see. Do World Championships, blah, blah, be right back. Thanks for watching. Championships preview. Wonder if I can make this work. Let's see if I can hack this thing. Do this right. In theory, pardon me while I AV the daylights out of this. That. Surprise. Terrible. I don't think I can do the audio at the same time. That'll just be a mess. There you have it. Sorcery. I hope that works. See if it pops in. And I need to kill this thing. Yoink. All right, so what's interesting is OBS is showing that I've actually got a preview going on this. Okay, oh. But the actual stream doesn't show it. So anyway, I'll just keep painting. I do have this up in front of me. All right, time to test this paint. Is even, nope, I can see it's got a sheen to it. It is not dry. Back away from that. Oh, you can't see. Yeah, it did pop up. Okay. I don't think I have the audio on it, and I don't think I want to try that, given A, how the audio has gone on this thing tonight so far, and B, how like out of touch it'll be. But hey, at least I figured out how to do that, which is good. While live, which is not smart, but I'm not smart, so take that. Yoink. Now we are multitasking. coat. Man, this thing is so rad. Some space for myself. I was like, what does this part go to? And then I finally found one on the box. It's like, nope, that's just this handle on the other side. It's the triggers over here. So good. What an operation. Just to spray down the world with glop. I should probably. Yeah, I should probably do that. That's probably wise. Picture in picture. All of my bookmarks. I'm excited to try to learn how to paint real faces. I am also scared to try to learn how to paint real faces. I'm not afraid to admit that I absolutely hide behind the fact that all these Death Guard tend to have helmets or have faces that are all jacked up. And the time has come for me to learn the ways of face painting. Hmm. Have looked at, I don't want to call them tutorials, but I have watched some people do some face painting stuff. Everything's so tiny, but I have noticed that it does have the advantage of, with human faces, everything's in the right place where you expect it. So you can sort of anticipate a little better how something's going to look in the end as you're going. Because at least relative to your own face, it makes sense. I have found countless Death Guard heads that, like, when I'm done painting them, I'm like, oh, that's right. He's got a weird slug sticking out of this corner that I didn't really notice. On that strap's not a big deal. I can just leave that. That thing's going to get meddled over no matter what. My Wraithbone pot of paint is all weird and bubbly. So strange. I may have thinned you out a little bit too much, buddy, but that's okay. We got, looks like we're getting close. Refresh the window. Good call. Good call. Good looking out. I was like, is that the warp? No, that's a Honda ad. Late start indeed. There we go. Just continuing to fill in every spot that's white. That needs white. This stuff absolutely gonna need another coat, but it's good. The drudge work of my painting scheme. Bam, we did it. Do I dare try getting audio with this? Capture. Am I getting audio out of this? Lizard, you don't have audio coming through, do you? I'm not sure I can actually do that from here.
See us, but let's actually jump right into this.
Yeah, well, before we do, there's a few things we always do
I'm
first.
excited.
I know you're excited. Paul. I know you're excited, but we have to ask people where they're
I'm
tuning
gonna try
in from.
something.
That's like the best
Doesn't
bit,
work.
right?
It doesn't work.
People love kind of posting pictures of the flags. So let us know where you're tuning in from, guys. Let us know if you're doing any Warhammer in the chat. Just nice to get people kind of
Let me
hyped and
know if
excited.
that's terrible.
And,
It starts screaming
if
at you.
you've got any kind of predictions or anything you want to see, do please let us know what you're looking forward to seeing, which game system you're excited about.
And how well you did at the trivia.
And how well you did at the trivia? I got them all right, obviously.
Oh, well,
obviously.
you
But I did write some of the quiz, so I had a
Sweet.
slight advantage in this.
That was so
Now I
cool.
just need to
actually
have
playing along
them
as we were about to go live.
Put
That
my
was great.
stream in
That
the
was awesome.
background.
Yep. Okay, so obviously we don't want to be waiting around too long. We do want to get stuck in stuff. But I've seen
great to
so
see
many people like flying past.
Yeah, and thanks for hanging out with us. I know it's late for some, early for some. It's a big world out there. Let us know if you're enjoying your coffee, morning coffee, watching us here.
Absolutely, yeah. It's going so fast I can barely see it. I was in New York, the UK, Rhode Island, Canada. I think I saw France fly by there. Fenris.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in for Fenris. It's really hard to get good Wi-Fi in Fenris as well, so good job. Good job on doing that. Got to be like within a few hundred meters of the Fang, I think. Get the Wi-Fi.
You think you get a good signal?
There's no other
You gotta
signal.
tune
There's
in,
no
you
other
gotta-
signal
you're
anywhere.
just following it around.
Absolutely.
There
Yeah,
we go. Understood.
Cool. All right, well, I think we probably should jump into...
Warhammer 40,000 up first.
Let's start with some more 40K.
Let's do it.
Bingo. All right, I'm psyched for that.
If you've been watching the live events, you've seen Orkin in just about every Necron list out there right now, and now players are soon going to get the opportunity to put a new model into that unit.
Yeah, this is a new multi-part plastic Oracan the Diviner. It's a very cool new miniature on its way very soon. This is another step on the way to having fully plastic Necron army, which is absolutely where you want it to be. This is a very dynamic miniature. It's the arch kind of chronomancer of the Necrons. He is able to predict the passage of time in the future using all sorts of arcane science. Not any warp shenanigans, nothing so crass as that for the Necrons, just a complete mastery of the physical realm. We know this guy from some of the games we've been streaming from the Championship. Very popular currently in Necron armies as he kind of buffs nearby units, and also is no slouch in combat. But also a very interesting character in the lore as well. If you've read any of the Black Library novels recently, The Infinite and the Divine is a fine read, and he's one of the stars of that particular book.
I love it. All the personality that's come about with the Necrons over the last several years as that development. It's just very captivating. Love it. And this model is brilliant.
Yeah, very cool as well. It's got kind of a little bit of canopticness about it as well, with that kind of cloak down the back and that kind of weird wavy spine.
I definitely dig his cute. I'm picking that model up
kind of
as soon as I can get my grubby hands on it.
Do tend to kind of enhance themselves
like
with
experiment maybe on
a little
themselves.
bit. Yeah, there's a bit of kind of arcane mad scientist about this guy as well.
And you're not kidding about the popular choice, and so getting this sweet new figure coming about, that's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen a Necron army in the last few months that hasn't had this guy in it. So obviously he'll be on his way with alongside the new codex, which we've already announced, alongside some other new Necron miniatures which are on their way as well. So there's lots of new Necron characters coming and a brand new codex, which allows you loads of cool new ways to use your Necron army. So it's a good time to be part of the Undying Metallic Legions right now.
Can't wait.
Speaking of which, we have a little bit more on the way for the Necrons, particularly for fans of narrative play in Warhammer 40,000. Let's have a look at the next video.
That launching your own campaign. Love the story-driven stuff. Speaking of things like the narrative happening here as well, but look at this already amazing new stuff to add into your game system.
Yeah, so this is the next narrative expansion for Warhammer 40,000. This is the Pariah Nexus. Obviously, we were just coming out of a great Warhammer Plus show, which featured the Pariah Nexus, and this is a campaign system set within that space. So we know that the Necrons are up to all sorts of weird arcane science shenanigans, trying to kind of explore the concept of soul and seeing if the humans are kind of an exploitable resource almost to kind of harvest. In the same time, the Adeptus Mechanicus very interested in some of the tech and things that the Necrons have been unearthing. So you've got this kind of arms race of two metallic armies into each other, the ancient Necrons and the kind of arcane science of the Adeptus Mechanicus in a sort of super weapon arms race into the Pariah Nexus, tying into all of the stories that we know have been happening right back to the start of almost 9th edition of Warhammer 40,000 and into that kind of recent animation. So if you enjoyed the kind of mega narrative of the Necrons, or you enjoyed the story of Pariah Nexus on Warhammer Plus, this is absolutely the way to kind of capture that essence in your games of Warhammer 40,000.
Reawaken any old rivalries through this story?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Right, so that's on its way. So really exciting news for narrative play for Warhammer 40,000. We've obviously been talking an awful lot this tournament and about
interesting, not surprising,
but
but
there's
interesting.
whole amazing other ways of playing Warhammer 40,000. Narrative, of course.
Part of the thing is apparently like put out a show and then do the narrative campaign stuff.
Not just way to play, but also moving the story on of that particular part of the galaxy, which has had a pretty exciting last few years, the Pariah Nexus.
Love the painting. Adeptus Mechanicus is one of those like super Warhammer things. Like you get to awaken all the art comes alive on those models.
Yeah,
as well.
and this is a Crusade expansion as well, so it kind of works for all Imperial armies and all armies really. So like anybody can take part and use some of the rules from that. But it's particularly cool if you've got either an Imperial force or a Necron force, and you want to kind of explore that bit of the galaxy. There are so many cool places around the Warhammer 40,000 universe, and those Crusade books are basically going to jump between key war zones, continue the narrative and the story in that location, and the next big one is going to be into the Pariah Nexus, which is pretty exciting.
That's awesome. We're just getting started.
Yeah. Right, let's have a look at another new miniature that's on its way for Warhammer 40,000.
Amazing. How many weapons does that guy have?
He certainly comes very well armed. This is Asmodee, the original interrogator chaplain of the Dark Angels, one of the most recognizable characters in Warhammer 40,000, and getting a brand new plastic miniature. This is the Master of Repentance, one of the most recognizable chaplains in Warhammer 40,000. I don't know about you, but chaplains for me kind of encapsulate some of the absolute gothic horror of Warhammer 40,000, and particularly of the Dark Angels, the kind of brooding, imposing figure of Asmodee.
They can awaken the spirit of the Marines around them, and this is captured all
Certainly a dope model. I do have to do a lot more.
The robes, the cloaks, the skulls, the implements of destruction, and revealing
Asmodee
secrets.
specifically.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, there's some
that
really cool
model
things to
looks-
call out on this model, because
like
we've got some nice
chaplains
angles of the front and back over there.
You're definitely right.
So you've got a hooded head option if you want, which is the kind of classic Asmodee that you guys will recognize from the current miniature, but also the classic miniature and some of the classic artwork we've seen. But we've never seen what's underneath that hood before, and now we can find out. It turns out it's a skull helmet. Who'd have known, right? So it's a chaplain.
Who would've thought?
You've got some very, very imposing weaponry there, an enormous great Calibanite greatsword, Crozius Arcanum, of course, with the kind of winged angel. On his back, he's got his pistol. He's also got some implements of torture in case he manages to get hold of a fallen or even one of the enemies that might know their location. You've got a pack on him there. You can either have kind of drifting smoke and essence, or if you want to paint it up really nicely, or if you maybe don't really fancy painting lots of smoke effects because it's not your jam, you can absolutely just have a plain backpack and not have that incense.
I love
there.
the options, especially if you like your
That is pretty cool.
your other Marine forces.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
that kind of stuff.
the other, obviously, whichever one you pick, the other one is going to be available for you to use. This is the kind of classic one, I suppose. The other thing to call out there, if you're a Fallen Angels fan like me, a plastic Fallen Angel on the base there. This is just pretty cool.
There's one for you.
There's one. Here you go. It's in some kind of, looks like Crusade pattern armor there to me, with I think a sword through his head. So he's maybe not having the best day, but still nice to see them represented.
This just screams Dark Angels. This is the
It's
art
so-
jumping off.
Oh,
the,
it's
the
so
page.
goth. I love
Pretty
the
cool models.
ludicrously oversized sword. Absolutely ridiculous. Like Space Marines have very over-the-top weaponry, but even by Space Marine standards, that sword is a statement piece.
Nothing is too big for 40K.
There you go. Yeah, if it's over the, there's no such thing as over the top. But speaking of enormous great weapons, we have another unit to show you today for the Dark Angels, which is the Deathwing Knights. This is a new Terminator unit, the specialized elite of the elite of the Dark Angels.
Those
Inner
look
Circle.
I got to see these.
sweet.
They are amazing. Look at that. Just brutish, just intimidating, coming across the battlefield. Who does not love the impending march of Terminators?
I mean, Terminators are innately cool, right? This has been a great year for Terminator fans. We've had a brand new unit in the Leviathan box set at the launch of the new edition of Warhammer 40,000. We've then had the multi-part kit, adding some options. You've had new Terminator chaplains, new Terminator librarians, new Terminator captains, and now we're starting to see some of the specialized Terminators of the chapters.
Those really
come forth,
do
and
look
the first
cool.
amongst them is, of course, the Terminator masters of Warhammer 40,000, the Deathwing, which are perhaps even
so
amongst
nice.
the Space Marines, the most renowned Terminators in the
We've
galaxy.
got some comments in the chat said it's not a want, it's a mighty need that's happening.
Yeah.
And there's also some questions we might be able to answer here in a second.
Yeah, there's some options in this kit which is worth calling out. So Deathwing Knights at the moment obviously have their maces. There is a build in this kit with enormous, great Calibanite swords, and for me as well, like obviously. The Dark Angels are synonymous with swords. The actual symbol of the chapter itself is that broken sword representing all sorts of stuff in the kind of mythology of the Dark Angels. Even the symbol of the Dark Angels and the Deathwing themselves hint at the secrets within the chapter, the Broken Sword, representing literally the broken sword of the Lion, but also the breaking of the Legion and the kind of fight against treachery sort of thing on the shields themselves. So swords and Calibanite swords particularly hark back to the very
Those are
origins of
beautiful.
the Legion and the kind of the Knights of Caliban sort of thing.
It's hard to have read that story way back in the day and not become a fan of
They
it.
just super like swords, I guess is what I'm getting at. They really like swords.
They
But they
super
also
like
like
swords.
enormous great maces, and you can also build this unit as a mace-wielding Deathwing
Those
Knight
maces
unit,
are
much
pretty
like
gnarly
the
too,
current
man.
kit
Super
in
crunch.
like the current slightly smaller Terminators. So if you've still got some of those old Terminators, you can still use them. They've still got the same weapon builds and stuff, but you probably want to upgrade them to these new ones because they're just so cool and imposing.
I'm looking at these. I'm seeing different helmets. I'm seeing different weapon options. I'm seeing lots of hobby time awaiting, calling me.
So some stuff we can call out is that you absolutely have enough stuff in this kit to build them all with swords. You have enough in this kit to build them all with maces if you want to. You also have enough in this kit to build them all with helmeted heads, or you can build them all with hooded heads. So you've got loads of different options, and you can either lean fully into one of those and go, well, I'm going to have them all hooded, or you can go, I want some of them with helmets and some of them with hoods, or you can buy 2 units and mix it up. So you can get a few of these and build them a few different ways, which is cool because one of the kind of archetype ways, I suppose, of building a Dark Angels army is to really lean into one of the themes of the wings, basically. So I got to go all bikes or all Terminators or all Tacticus, and if you go all Terminators, which is it's a very cool way of doing an army, right? You definitely want more than one unit of Deathwing Knights.
They're tough, and the amount of games we've been watching, Terminators are back.
Terminators are absolutely back this edition. Like certainly, there was a little bit for the last edition of Warhammer 40,000 where maybe the shine came off them a little bit. There's lots of other things that have been cool that have come out recently, but Terminators kind of very much strode back into both kind of miniature-wise, some of the incredible miniatures come out this year, but also into the kind of the meta play of Warhammer 40,000. Terminators definitely have their niche in armies.
I just want to hang out with this Watcher in the dark.
He's a cool Watcher. Look at him. I think I can't remember. You called out earlier on. It looks like his robes are just a little bit big for him, maybe. Yeah, it looks a little bit big, like he's got Dad's hoodie on, sort of thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but very, very cool. Very, very cool miniature. On the way, that comes in the set and kind of gives you some bonuses and stuff as well, which is really cool. Right, so that's Warhammer 40,000. We might have a little bit more stuff that you can use in 40k later on, but let's have a look at the roadmap for codexes. So we know Adeptus Mechanicus and Necrons are on their way really, really soon, like really, really soon. So if you're fans of those armies, then you're in for a good few weeks.
Curious to see what
Then we
happens
know
with
that we've got
Admech
Dark
within the
Angels on the way,
Codex.
no surprise there.
They become
Codex
viable.
supplement to add on to Codex Space Marines and Orcs and Adeptus Custodes and Tau Empire and Codex Chaos Space Marines all coming in spring 24. It's an absolutely bumper crop of
I can hear the
codexes.
WA starting to build right now.
Yeah, I mean, it always comes. This is never too far away. But we can announce today that the next 2 codexes following those releases in summer 2024 will be Genestealer Cult and Adeptus Sororitas. 2 very cool, very interesting armies. And I think one thing that's worth calling out on that spread of codexes, that's a really broad spread in terms of there's a little bit of Chaos in there, there's lots of Xenos, there's lots of Imperial, really nice mix of factions coming into
That's a
Warhammer
lot
40,000.
coming. That's coming sooner than we think, too.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's going to add a lot of infusion into the game.
And all of that is coming within the next kind of 6 or 7 months. So there's absolute smorgasbord of codexes
My
on the way.
favorite army redacted. Who knows?
And a super,
Who knows
a
what's
super
coming?
secret
Yeah.
codex as well on the way.
Cannot
there.
wait. But that's awesome. Like, players get excited because we've seen all the breath of life that the codexes are injecting into what's happening, expanding on the indexes, giving you lots of cool things to do with your miniatures.
Yeah, and I think I'm right in saying that I think most of those come with at least some new models, and some of those codexes come with a lot of new models. So there's some cool stuff on the way.
Wow,
Some
cannot
cool
wait.
stuff on the
I'm
way.
hyped.
I know you are, but you do live in a permanent state of hype, though. Paul.
Pretty much.
That's-
Well, look, if it's Warhammer, I'm excited.
Yeah, cool. All right, so that's Warhammer 40,000. We do have a little bit more for 40k later on in this preview, but let's jump to another system now and have a look at some other cool new things on their way for one of our other games.
That stuff looks dope. Nice toast.
Ah, the great nobility returns, draped in their finery.
Oh,
A
absolutely.
beautiful army of knights and nobles and mighty warriors added into the mortal realms. Probably the most noble, most renowned, and the most handsome, I think, of all the
Shining,
factions.
gleaming armor, full of flowers and life.
Yeah, well, let's have a look at some of these models. That this is a phenomenal release for the
Yeah,
Sun
they
King
absolutely,
and his
like,
warriors.
so much of
This
this
is,
stuff does
this is the
great double
Crypt Guard,
duty
the
D&D
noble
stuff.
defenders of the castles and keeps of the king's realm. This is one of your elite units, basically, for the courts, and they are armed with the best weapons available.
Gleaming
to the
weaponry.
Gleaming weaponry.
Obviously well maintained by their squires in court.
I think particular note there to some of the fine heraldry on the flag. Some really lovely details there.
I think I know them.
Yeah, I think so. This unit comes with some weapon options, so you can either have them with swords, or you can kit them out with halberds, giving you some options in terms of how you want to kit them out and how you want to.
I love how
best
much trash
protect
talk
your
they were
king's
doing
realm.
about, not trash talk, but just like having fun with it. But yeah,
Amazing.
the skin flag,
This
very nice
is
touch.
one of the units that the courts have really been waiting for, which is a heavy cavalry unit. So mighty knights on the back
Those
of
look
fine
awesome.
and noble steeds. These guys can crash into enemy formations and break them in the name of honor and nobility.
Bringing hope and light to all of their townsfolk.
Yep, I mean, the forces of evil will surely fall as these guys crash into their lines and gleaming knights cut down enemy champions and hordes of beasts alike.
Tremble as they thunder across the plains.
Yeah. Some close-ups on some of these models. I think it's really nice to see that the kind of heraldry come into the fore here. A really nice kind of palette maybe to test out some bold heraldic color schemes on your models.
The brightness. Staggering.
This guy is a courtier of the court, and he is a mighty warrior indeed. He's able to take on somehow, with superhuman feats of strength, almost smash through enemy formations as if he was some kind of great and strong, powerful beast. But as you can see,
larger than life by his deeds alone.
as you can see, a gleaming champion of humanity that can stand proud in the mortal realms. Some beautiful shots of the back of him there, showing off the full heraldic panoply of his war gear. And then we go the cardinal there, allowing you to add some priests. And
That guy
some
looks
extra
really
little kind
cool.
of, priest abilities into your Age of Sigmar army, and again a herald really of the
Cardinal's
of his court and of his
awesome.
king, able to spread the good word.
I mean,
of,
honestly, you could do
of
an
the court to
entire
all the
D&D
peoples of the
campaign
realm.
with
Draped
just
in
these
finery,
guys.
inspiring presence.
No problem.
And the royal decapitator. So we saw the Grand Justice earlier on in this month, and we obviously he's giving the proclamations of the King's justice as fair and righteous, but often,
It does need more
unfortunately,
mods.
some of the justices need to the justice that needs to be dispensed is decapitation, and when that's true, this guy stoically steps forward to deliver that unfortunate punishment.
With the sharpest and steadiest blows, obviously showing
Of
mercy
course,
and
yeah,
grace.
it is really a mercy. It is really a mercy. And all of this will be coming in a well, some of this will be coming in a new army box, which is available the first time you'll be able to get your hands on the battle tome, but also the first time you get able to get your hands on lots of these new plastic.
I might
kits.
just get that
This is
box.
the contents of that army set. So loads of really cool stuff on the way.
Spectacular. I mean, seriously, look, this is amazing.
I think I'm going to get
really
that box.
Beautiful detail things. This is the special edition battle tome there, and obviously you can build these guys in lots of different ways. So I think we're going to see a lot of these on the battlefield of the Mortal Realms very soon. But this guy, the king himself, Usheran, the Mortarch of Delusion, Nagash's most noble and most fastidious
That
champion, a hero of the world that was, still lives from the noble line of Strigoi, which obviously traces its lineage all the way back to the ancient realm of Lamia in the beyond the borders of the old world.
This is
Lamia, the
absolutely
source of
spectacular.
Lamian
The
medium.
detail almost overwhelming. Look at that.
It's such a good model. It's just, I think, one of the best models kind of in Age of Sigmar, which is saying something because there's some absolutely stunning stuff in there. But a painter's dream. This model is very big, so there's been some comparison shots. You can kind of get a sense of how big it is by looking at some of the sizes of some of the accoutrements and the jewelry that's on that model.
And maybe some of those depictions of real life on the cloak there.
Yeah, absolutely. But we'll have some pictures of this on the Warhammer
Oh, yeah,
community
that thing
website
is
soon as
huge.
well, next to some of the other miniatures in the range, so you can kind of see how this guy stacks up against some of the other things. But a very
Beautiful.
impressive, very imposing miniature, and of course an important part of the narrative of Warhammer Age of Sigmar. The cool thing about the king himself is that we've heard an awful lot about the Summer King, about Usherin, the Mortarch of Delusion of Nagash for an awful long time. But even in the world that was in Warhammer Fantasy Battle, it was never a model. There's never been a model for this guy, right? So this is the first time we've managed to see him in all of his glory, all of his regal glory.
It's going to be hard to resist the call of this army. I mean, this has all the
is.
detail, the finery, the amazingness, the nobility, the charm.
Yeah,
I'm
so
hooked.
there we go. So a very exciting release for Warhammer Age of Sigmar. But let's have a look at another game system and see what's on the way.
Faction for Warhammer Underworlds. Underworlds Heralded is one of the tightest and most competitive games ever released.
Yeah, so this is a Cruel Boys faction for Warhammer Underworlds. We have seen
I am so
Cruel
not
Boys
plugged
before,
into
but this is a
Underworlds.
very different take on the kind of Cruel Boy archetype. This is a warband, Dagog's Stab Lads, and these are led by Dagog, which is the guy with the big spear there. His kind of thing is
like
that
the
he
name
is
Stab
the
Lads.
Think Stealer, which means that he's out to try and get hold of enemy leaders, take their heads, and using various magics of Mork, take the cunning inside their heads so he can become the most cunning
Does
kill
he
boss.
need the rest of them or just the heads?
I think he just needs the heads. So, I mean, they can keep the rest of them.
That's powerful
But
magics.
there's some fun stuff going on in this warband. Each one of them is kind of an interesting kind of archetype within the Cruel Boys. So you've got the kind of sneaky one on the far right there with the knives. You've got the one that's like a little bit of a bruiser with his big two-handed chain.
Like the
He's kind of
Backstreet
like
Boys.
the monster breaker sort of thing. You've got the horn. One fun thing about the horn blower is that the horn of Kragnos. So when he sounds that, the other Uruks can kind of hear the rumble of their god wherever they are. And then you've got Dagog himself, who's the leader. So it's a really fun, very thematic and characterful warband. And it's a little look at some of the stats. These guys are solid. This is a good, well-rounded warband. They can fight pretty well. They are Uruks, so lots of health points. They hit pretty hard in combat, but they also have a few tricks to help them out. So they don't fight fair. They have schemes, which basically means that they are things that you know is on the way, that you know that you're trying to achieve and will change the way the battle works, but your opponent doesn't know it's coming, so you can kind of plot out a little bit of how you want the game to play out, knowing full well what the future is going to hold, but your opponent is none the wiser.
That's a
sort of
little
thing.
unique.
Yeah, it's. I think one of the nice things about Underworlds at the moment is that every warband really does have a unique play style. So even though there's another Cruel Boys warband in Underworlds, they have a very different feel from these guys.
And everything you need is right in that box.
Yeah, they all comes as one set. So as long as you've got one of the core sets for Warhammer Underworlds, well, either the starter set or the current core season, these guys can kind of play straight into it out of the box. So all they're on the way as
put
well.
some more
come with a
glowy
full
stuff on
Rivals
this
deck,
portal.
and all the cards and things you need to
Keep
play.
on
So
rocking here.
if you're a fan of the Cruel Boys, and I am a fan of the Cruel Boys, this is a really nice way to kind of get a new warband for Warhammer
Underworlds is actually one of the components here at the World Championships.
That's
Going
true,
to crown
yeah.
the first champion country here for this event. It's one of the events people can.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those systems that's on the up at the moment. Lots of excitement about the current season of Warhammer Underworld. Lots of people enjoying it an awful lot. So yeah, we're gonna excited to see what that warband and lots of future warbands are on the way. How that changes the meta up.
All right, let's crack out.
Right, let's have a look
this
at another
spot.
game system.
Like almost pearlescent. Weird. Looks like soap. Good stuff. That's it, folks. Oh boy.
How cool is that? Folks have been saying, we need infantry, we need infantry.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, but we've finally got new plastic assault marines are very much here for Warhammer, the Horus Heresy. They are in beaky armor, which I think, for me, feels like the most appropriate armor for assault marines because they look like pointed, right? They look like they can go fast.
They do.
They
It's
look
like
a bit like a blade.
aerodynamic.
Absolutely,
when
right?
you head in that
So
direction.
that's what you want if you've got a jump pack. They are a multi-part plastic kit. You've got everything you need in this box set to make that unit into either chainsaws and bolt pistols wielding unit, or you can build them into shield and chainsaw wielding as well.
So it's truly a kit for every legion.
Yeah, so some legions kind of favor certain things, right? So the shield is particularly cool if you've got something like a kind of siege-esque sort of force. So your Imperial Fists, your Iron Warriors, also things like Ultramarines, where they have that kind of shield wall kind of aesthetic going for them. If you want a more well-rounded kind of brutal look to it, more offense, less defense, something like Sons of Horus or Blood Angels, something like that, you probably want just more damage, right? So you're going to go for your chainsaw bolt pistol combo.
And the Imperial Fist over there, look at that. It captures so much of the story of Imperial Fist right there, and I love that paint job.
Yeah, a little bit of Black Templar in there as well. Kind of obviously during the time of the Horus Heresy, the Templars were a part of the Imperial Fist before they kind of broke off on their own.
Spoilers.
What? I don't know. It's fine. This is a really flexible kit as well. So you've got the kind of jump packs, which are a kind of new style almost of jump packs. They're more detailed than some of the Horus Heresy jump packs we've seen.
Those jump packs are pretty crazy.
Very flexible with some of the Warhammer 40,000 and the Horus Heresy things. So if you've got something like, I don't know, a Space War Force and you want to get some Sky Claws in there or something like that, that'd be a fine choice. Or if you wanted a more classic look to your Assault Squad for something like Iron Warriors in Warhammer 40,000.
I mean, I love the retro feel to this. Like,
Yeah,
like the technology is not quite there, not quite as sleek yet. They've just strapped them in there and said, here's these rockets and go.
There is something just completely brutal about the way that jump packs work with Space Marines, because the Space Marine itself,
outside of the jump packs,
like
a lot of that
right?
stuff
They're like
would be really
a ton
good
of
for Death
armor and
Guard.
like gene-bred killer, and they've just put a rocket on it and thrown it into the battle. They are a brutal, unsubtle unit, but very useful in Warhammer the Horus Heresy, because it's rare that you're kind of able to move around the battlefield quite as fast as these guys. And in the Horus Heresy, you can have a lot of jump troops in your army, right? You can have swarms of them. Warhammer 40,000 maybe be unusual to see more than maybe 10 or 20. In the Horus Heresy, 50 is not an uncommon sight in an army, so you do want plenty of them. And the good news is they come in nice big boxes of 10, so you can get quickly to very big forces.
I really do love all the options. Being a kit basher myself, you know, be able to mix and match bits and create the squads that looks best to
Yeah,
me.
we'll have some pictures of these up on the community website soon as well, but the thing to know as well is there's lots of options in there for the commanders of that squad, so you got Power Fists and Lightning Claws and Plasma Pistols and all the stuff you'd want to have on your leader units.
I know a lot of Horus Heresy players. I know they're going to be excited about these.
Yeah. Right, let's take a look at another game system.
Folks may recognize that profile a little bit.
Yeah, so this is the Taurus Venator for Necromunda. This is the enforcers.
I'm so
of
unfamiliar
Necromunda.
with
They need a
Necromunda.
way to zip around the Ashways. Unfortunately, not all the crime in Necromunda happens inside the city, and occasionally you need to go out there and track down dangerous elements who might be either undermining law or more likely undermining the nobility of the hives. So you need to make sure that there's none of that. The Taurus Venator, the Palatine enforcers, are able to get access to this. You might recognize the Taurus Venator from Astra Militarum forces, commonly used by things like the Elysian drop troops, but this is a common chassis template design that's seen across the Imperium in lots of different places. The Palatine enforcers make good use of it, and it is significantly, I suppose, more durable and advanced than some of the things that they're coming up against in the Ash Waste. They are well equipped, so much like the Palatine enforcers themselves, which tend to have better armor, better weapons, but far fewer models than some of the gangs they go up against. The Taurus Venator is a very solid pick for your transportation across the Ash Waste.
I love the different weapon options here. Those look so cool, and the wheels too, and the thing.
Yeah, it looks very fun. It looks very durable, right? So you've got lots of wheels, and it looks like it could very happily race across the dunes. You've got lots of little details, so the heads on the riders, they're interchangeable with lots of other stuff. You've got different weapon options. You've got lots of stowage and kind of storage and spare fuel and stuff like that. So you can really lean into that slightly grubby aesthetic that Necromunda has, or you can keep it nice and paint it nice and clean and put none of those details on and have it like it's just rolled off the production line somewhere in Hive Primus.
I do like that very ground level, that kind of that's the gritty side of Necromunda, how it captures a lot of feel of Warhammer 40,000 and what it's like to be inside a city or something like that, and just how maybe how those conditions unfold, and also in the Ash Waste.
Yeah, I mean, Necromunda to some extent is like a microcosm of the whole Warhammer 40,000 universe, right? Which is like this planet which has just been completely ruined by the industry of humanity, and now you've just got like fighting over the scraps of what's left. And even though this is technically a functioning planet by the standards of the Imperium, it's still absolutely awful, right? Like the police force is horrifically corrupt. That every single gang is trying to do something horrible. There are the cannibals in the basement and like hunters in the skies and all sorts of horrible things. So the world of Necromunda is a very grim place indeed, but a very fun place to set a skirmish game. So there you go, enjoy.
I've also seen a couple of war bosses wringing their hands, maybe,
yeah,
maybe I mean, they have some designs on
I
that.
think every vehicle is to some extent an orc vehicle, so I'm quite sure we'll see a few of those make their way into Orc Wars. I also think that would Gene steal a cult up very well. So if you're looking for like an alternate Ridge Runner or something like that, I think that would just zoom into that slot quite happily. And it's much like the Orcs, there's something to be said for having a little bit of a hodgepodge look to your Gene Stealer cult force as well. So I think I'm eyeing that up for my Gene Stealers. I think I might swoop in there as well, which obviously could do dual service in Necromunda as well.
Very true. There we go.
There we go. Right, cool. Very cool indeed. All right,
My
think
portal doesn't look
we
very
are now
good
onto
God, I've got to work through it.
Oh, Kill Team. We've got Kill Team. I was getting excited. Sorry, guys. I forgot the order there. We do have a little bit more Warhammer 40,000 in the shape of the next Kill Team. So let's take a look at what's on its way.
Y'all are going to like
soon.
this.
Here we go. Somebody's happy. That looks pretty awesome.
I kind of always want to know who gets the honor of being stuck on the banners.
Well, that's a good question. It's a good question. So this is, as the chat has quite rightly noticed and been crying the war cry, a brand new plastic warband for Kill Team, the Night Lords. So this is based on the Chaos Space Marine kit, but with a huge amount of new options and customizability added in. This is Nemesis Claw. So this is 10 box of Chaos Space Marines with a huge amount of extra Night Lordy components, and you can have a look there at some of the incredible details that you've got. So we're just going to linger on this image for a little bit and kind of soak it in, and then we'll have a look at some of the ones up close. So you can see you've got the chain glaives in there, you've got some chainsaws, you've got lightning claws, you've got all the kind of bat-headed aesthetic you expect from
bat-headed. Love it.
One thing worth noting, I think that the bat heads are a little bit more kind of streamlined and restrained maybe than some of the Night Lord's helmet we've seen in the past. They look a little bit more practical, but no less terrifying.
Well, they hide in the shadows. They've got to duck behind some cover.
There you go, yeah.
A lot has evolved
so
over the last 10,000 years, I suppose.
Absolutely. But, I mean, a phenomenal looking Kill Team. Very cool. Let's have a look at some of the models in a little bit more detail. So
this is amazing, by the way. I got to say that there's some elements here.
Yeah, there's some lovely detail. So on the left there, you have a Night Lord with a loyalist Astarte stuck to a banner, and goodness knows what kind of fell rituals have gone on there. But fundamentally, what he's saying there is, it doesn't matter if you're humanity's finest, I'm still going to hunt you down, gut you, and stick you on a banner for my own amusement and for the amusement of my Dark Pantheon. In the middle there, you've got the stealth specialist with obviously a venomed blade and a scoped bolt pistol and that kind of terrifying skull mask. So leaning into that kind of stealth specialist. One of the nice things about Kill Team is that even though these are all legionaries to some extent, you have very clear specialisms within that, including things like on the right there, the lightning claw wielding Night Lords, and those lightning claws very reminiscent of the Night Haunter from the Age of the Horus
Same
Heresy.
look, same feel, same vibe. You can definitely see that gene imprint.
I know,
working its
falling
way out.
apart.
I mean, all
And the
legions have a
models look
very
dope.
interesting and fraught relationship with their gene father, and they're no exception. But it doesn't mean that they don't like the lightning claws an awful lot. And there's a close-up on some more of the models. These are really cool. So I think the chainsaw there is phenomenally kind of cool detail. That's one of the most kind of metal chainsaws I think I've ever seen. And of course, the leader of your
Sweet.
warband has a flayed cloak made of the skins of his enemies, just in case anyone going up against him thought it would be a good idea.
That patchwork looks absolutely awesome.
Excellent stitch work there from the Night Lord. Probably did it himself, to be honest. Yeah, very, very good. So a very
Space
cool
Marines
warband.
are artists.
Yeah, obviously, Space Marines in Kill Team of all flavors are very powerful and potent. They come with all the things that you'd want them to be able to do. That unit, of course, will see utility in Warhammer 40,000 as well.
I can see people making all armies. Are already planning
yeah,
right now. How can I get as many of these in my forces as I can?
Yep.
I mean, I don't know if we might be able to cut back to the full unit shot, but one of the things that you will notice is that I think you have enough shoulder pads in there so that every single one of them can have the Night Lord's Legion symbol on the shoulder if they're not a kind of specialist, which is pretty cool. So lends itself very well to people who kind of want to lean into that. But also, obviously, the way that Warhammer 40,000 armies now work is if you have an army that's not Night Lords, you can quite happily kind of put these guys into it now and say, actually, you know what, I'm just going to have one of my Legion units is just going to be a cool-looking Night Lords unit, and that's fine, and you can get double duty out of them in Kill Team and Warhammer 40,000. So
That is
a
big news.
very cool addition to Kill Team, and I think Night Lords have a very fanatical fan base, as do many of the Traitor Legions, and they'll be very pleased to see them.
They've been in some amazing novels.
They
There's
have
people
indeed,
like to
yeah.
look at some comments in the chat. It's like, well, I guess I got to learn how to paint lightning now.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah, I mean, you can probably get away with not painting the lightning on them, but you're going to give it a go, right? It's a good excuse.
give it a go, right? Yeah.
And, you know, it's certainly a lot easier to paint lightning onto 5 or 10 models for a Kill Team than it is to embark on a full 100 model and tanks army of lightning. So, you know, have a dabble, have a go of a Kill Team, see if you like it, and if you do, you can always expand into a full army.
Those look awesome. But we're not
There we
done.
go. We're
Those
not
are
done. We know a lot
fantastic
of you
models.
tuned in to see some old world content, and we can now quite happily show you what I think is going to be the most impressive and spectacular miniature that's going to be releasing alongside the launch of the old world. So let's take a look at something very cool indeed.
Special place in my heart for skeleton dudes.
That's going to be a big square base.
That is indeed a very big, impressive, new, multi-part plastic Necrolith Bone Dragon available for the Tomb Kings. We can confirm
I'm
that
a
the Tomb
big-
Kings will be an army released and supported alongside
Big
Returning
Khemri
to one of the
fan
launch
in
armies
Blood Bowl.
of the new Warhammer The Old World on its way very early next year. This is a phenomenal plastic kit.
That thing is
Very
crazy.
different sort of bone dragon than the the zombie dragons that we've seen in the world ridden by vampires. Almost like a crocodilian sort of head to it, and far less meat on its bones,
Sweet.
perhaps, than some of the other undead constructs we've seen in the past. A very impressive model. The Tomb King obviously riding high at the top of that to give him a commanding view of the battlefield. If you have a Tomb King army, if you're familiar with Warhammer Fantasy, you'll know that you absolutely want to have a Tomb King in your army. He is the kind of linchpin general unit of your army, and you want to keep him nice and safe. And what safer place could there be than perched atop the back of an enormous undead
Oh, that thing's
construct?
glorious.
This is a multi-part plastic kit, so as well as being able to build him as a Tomb King,
Options.
options is always great. You can
Wow.
also build him as a high priest on Necrolith Bone Dragon. This some beautiful little features in this that kind of worth dwelling on. So if you look, you can see that kind of vulture being spawned out of sand, kind of maybe like an
That's a
endless spell or
crazy
something that he's
variant.
kind of created and constructed out of the sands of Khemri. Lovely little details on there of like the death mask at the bottom there. That's probably what he looked like in life before old age and the ravages and the gaseous curse has wizened him away. Lots of lovely little kind of scarab details and skull details, kind of hinting at the kind of worship of death that obviously occurred within the land of Khemri
stuff.
itself.
It's like looks like someone's getting two. That's also been a comment.
I mean, yeah, you get two. I mean, it's phenomenal miniature. I think you'd be rude not to include at least one in your Tomb King's force. And the other thing that's really nice about this kit is whichever one you decide to build, if you go for the High Priest, you get a Tomb King, which you can use as like a Tomb King or a Tomb Prince on foot to lead your kind of infantry. So
Whoa,
whichever
that's
one you
like
decide
super
to build, you also
generous.
get
The
another
fact that
foot
the
character.
other
And in Warhammer,
the
Old
other
World,
character,
much
you
like
can just put
Warhammer
him on foot.
Fantasy, you kind of you want to have some heroes in the mix, right? So especially in an undead force, you want to make sure you've got enough heroes to keep your army moving forward. But yeah, this is a spectacular miniature. I think even if you've got no interest in the old world as a game system, and we know loads of you do and are very excited about it, but even if you just love miniatures and you want something to paint, this looks like a painter's dream.
It does. I love the contrast of colors that are represented on the model here and all the different textures that still make its way onto this otherwise just bone motif here.
Yeah, loads. I think the thing that's nice about this is I think you'll paint up fairly quickly, right? You could get contrast paints and dry brushes and stuff would get your kind of most of it, the bone structure done.
I also
quite
love how the
quickly,
rib
and you
cage
can
is just
really
sort
take
of
your time
tied
with the kind of
together a
gold
little bit.
detail and the gems and all that sort of stuff. We've got some questions in there about
We also have some requests as well.
Yeah, I don't actually know if we have a close-up of the cat, but I think we will try and get that up on the Warhammer community website for you very soon. It does come with a mummified cat. Which is included in the kit as well. I don't know if the cat actually has a profile. I think it might just be an aesthetic addition to the kit.
The room where we did this live also erupted, so you're in good company wanting that picture as well.
Yeah, but such a cool model. There's loads of bits in this as well. So if you build it as the Tomb King and you kind of keep the Lich Priest separate, you've got loads of different bits to kind of mix in the rest of your army and kind of
That's a
jazz up
very
your
cool
chariots
model.
and units and stuff like that. So it's a really, really fun model. This is on its way with a bunch of other new Tomb King things launching very early in 2024 alongside lots of the Bretonian stuff that we've seen already. So it's a very exciting time for Tomb King fans and for fans of the old world
This
generally.
looks so amazing. And look at the profile, the height that's going to come off the battlefield. It's going to truly be a showpiece for the
It's
army.
huge. It stands so much taller. I mean, you can look at that and you can kind of get the sense of it. He's quite a big infantry model in his own right, but he's standing, at 5 or 6 times the height of a human infantry model. So a very big, imposing model. You can imagine this thing just smashing through regiments.
People are very excited about the old world.
Yeah.
And seeing stuff like this has got me excited even more.
It's going to be very cool. Right. So I am afraid, guys, that is the last of our previews. We've seen loads of cool stuff. We've seen Warhammer 40,000, some Age of Sigmar stuff, a new Mortark returning.
Necromunda, Kill Team.
Yeah, we've seen the Necron stuff. I think the Dark Angels have got some very cool things on the way. The Night Lords seem very popular as well. Did you have a favourite, Paul, of the stuff that we've shown today?
I really think that the Mortar coming back. I mean,
Yeah.
that model looks. I mean, it's hard to gather the scope, but that thing looks massive.
It is bigger than a kind of almost the size of the kind of Demon Primarchs. It's kind of that kind of scale. So it is. It's cool for a bunch of reasons. Like if you've been following the lore of Warhammer for a long time, you'll know that character Usherin was pivotal to some of the major events of the old world, the fall of the various vampire dynasties and the rise of the kind of Strigoi in the old world, and then obviously the rise of the flesh eater courts in the mortal realms. So
Hey,
his
what's up,
story
man?
is like spans almost the whole history of Warhammer.
Who are
right from,
those?
like Nagash's
I
origin
mean,
all
these?
the way through.
I'm just
to,
doing
the
some
current timeline of Age of Sigmar.
This
It's
is
very
me.
cool.
I got
Going
some
over the edge. I'm diving in.
Plague Marines that I'm doing early work
It's,
on.
it's really cool. And the
They've
other
all got big
miniatures in that
spray
range are
guns.
great. I think Flesh Eater Courts are one of those armies that's always had
Did a little work
an
on this guy.
incredible narrative and backstory.
Trying to get a portal going
including
underneath
kind
him.
of links
This is
and
for a
origins
friend.
to very early Warhammer lore. And
I've got
now
a
we're seeing a
trio
miniatures range that really captures that essence and that feel. I think
Scarabs
it's a really cool
that
time
go
for
with
Age of Sigmar. Warhammer 40,000, you saw that Codex roadmap. just an incredibly cool few
Oh,
months ahead for Warhammer
there's
40,000.
Warhammer's
Like Dark
previewing some
Angels
stuff, so
in
I
particular,
rigged
you've
up
got a
OBS
good
to have
time
another
with.
screen and some
Well, it's been
audio
a true
going.
pleasure hanging out with you, hanging out with the chat, watching these amazing previews, talking about Warhammer
So we could
all
watch
day.
it
I could
live.
do that.
There's a
Let's do
bunch
it
of
again
preview
tomorrow.
stuff
We're going
that
to do
just
it again
finished up.
tomorrow. Exactly. If you tune in now, you actually come back and watch on Twitch all the World Champion games that we can cover between Warhammer 40,000 and Age of Sigmar. So the previews will be up shortly on the Warhammer community site if they aren't already.
Some of them
Go
already
and
are.
Check out the videos. You can see, maybe zoom in on that thing you were asking about.
Yeah, the cat's going to be there, I'm pretty sure.
It will be. Eddie, it's been a pleasure. And chat, it's been awesome. We'll see y'all next time, everybody.
Goodbye.
All right, let me kill that. My experiment with live stuff. There we go. Close that up now. That was fun. Too much information for my lizard brain. Yeah. Take my headset off. Speaking of lizard brains, or at least lizards, Lizard was like, "Oh, you're gonna watch the sort of showcase?" And I was like, "Yeah, when is it?" And it was just coming up, so it's funny because I had to recook this stream because the audio was all jacked up at the start, but then somehow live I managed to get OBS to pick up Twitch in real time. So that was pretty neat. So yeah, just checking out new stuff. I am glad it is the weekend. It was a heck of a week. Nothing bad happened, but just like brain taxing design work, management work. My brain is mush. So yeah, big decision tomorrow. I will either be picking up a new Chaos Knight or some serious Sisters of Battle. Get those started. Yeah, it was good. I thought they previewed a lot of interesting stuff. It's really challenging because like everybody has the stuff that they want to see, and like obviously a lot of people aren't going to have stuff coming in. But for me, like, you know, I'm curious to see how AdMech do when they get a codex. I've always liked them aesthetically and lore wise. I'm like kind of tempted to want to play them, but that'll be no time soon. And then, but yeah, there's not a lot of stuff in this preview that was like for me. It's not like, oh my god, you know, you can play as Nurgle himself, but lots of cool stuff in there for the game. Yeah, I actually had it on. Hey, Barrymore, what freaking time is it? When do you sleep? I just had it up like picture in picture. Testing, flexing my AV skills. There's some good stuff going on there. I know so little that any news is pretty much out of context. Yeah, I mean, honestly, a lot of it's just pretty pictures for me, but they were pretty pictures. There's some cool Night Lord stuff in there. They look awesome. Super fun bat themed, creepy themed stuff. You know, if when you're up at 5, why not? Yeah, I'm just doing lots of little fiddly bit stuff. Odds and ends. Clearing out my backlog of stuff so that I can buy more models tomorrow. That's how we do. I gotta check with my wife, see if I can actually escape the house tomorrow. I don't think we have a ton of stuff going on. I gotta watch the kids for quite a chunk of time. But yeah, we're base coating. Did some scarabs earlier. Watched everything live. Not a bad Friday night stream, if I do say so myself, and I do. I got 3 sets of those guys. I'm probably going to hit them with Tesseract Glow on top of it, but hopefully this thing will show off. I don't know if this thing generates enough light. Come on, buddy. Maybe not. Is he sort of shiny? Pretty cool, huh? I'm either going to pick up a Chaos Knight or a bunch of Sisters of Battle. I got this dude. I got to make that into a portal somehow. I'm not quite sure how I'll do it, but I wonder if I can thicken up blood for the Blood God and just have it string across there. Right now it just looks like a strange, pardon my French, like vaginal thing. Which, yes, is the aesthetic, but not exactly what I'm going for. So I don't think I will dive headfirst into the St. Catherine processional thing, but I could. Crazy looking. Was it the Triumph of St. Catherine? Just like marching a dead body into battle. Sounds neat. But I might actually get the Combat Patrol, even though apparently the sort of selection is a little squirrely. Because I got a lot of practicing to do. Those models are very different from what I'm used to. Very, very different. If I do get the Combat Patrol, at least at a minimum, I can sort of pack that thing up and play with a friend doing Combat Patrol rules, which may be a good gateway drug for a couple of my friends. Being like, yo, I got this to the Combat Patrol, you want to do this? And I have all the stuff from the Death Guard Combat Patrol, so that might be a good call. But the temptation to pick up another knight is always present. I have to be wary of it. Like if they had some, what are they, armigers, war dogs? So essentially you have the big boys, and then you have like small boys. And if they have a set of armigers, I might pick those up. But we'll see. But basically doing this stuff right here kind of gets me to the bottom of the barrel. Puts me in a good spot where I have no lingering projects floating around. Feels good. Feels real good. I'm essentially out of models, which means I'm doing my part. Sisters are not psycho resistant. You're thinking of the Adeptus Sororitas are like battle nuns. There's the Silent Sisterhood, and those are very anti-psyker. Those are just like, they're not a whole faction, they're just sort of like supplemental units you can put in. Which are cool. But the Sisters of Battle all like rely on miracles. They're normal people. They're not like gene updated. They're extremely pious. They sometimes serve as like a more militant wing of the Inquisition. There is so much to get mixed up. Almost like a game that's been around for 40 years, constantly adding content to it. They have a really cool aesthetic. It's like all like battle nun stuff. And rules-wise, they get miracle dice, which is really, really awesome. They basically roll a bunch of dice under different circumstances, and you keep the dice and you set them aside. and you keep what the actual die roll is on it. And then at certain key points and certain rolls, you can sub one of those dice in. So if I have 5 miracle dice and like 2 of them are like 6s, like I know at some point I can sub in that 6 somewhere. And then there are other times where you can like sacrifice a miracle die for some effect, which means if I have a couple of them that are 1s and 2s, I know that I can just like sack those out and get some neat effect out of it. So they play pretty interestingly, but they're not like exactly beefy. They are just people. They're not Astartes. It's not like they have like a super crazy. I mean, they're very trained. They're as trained as you can be. But you sort of have to rely on the miracle dice to sort of get the job done in a lot of cases. At least that's my take on reading their sheets. But they sound neat. And if I do that, that'll force me to paint a lot of heads, faces, hair, things that I've been very much avoiding on my grand journey here. So I do want to do that at some point. And some of them wear helmets, but a lot of them are just like absolutely right out there. No helmet. And their aesthetic is cool. Like they have a ton of the super gothic, like, you know, flaming braziers full of coals, you know, I don't know the stuff here, but like their vehicles, like, yes, but very angry people, yeah. Their vehicles, like one of them is like one of their tanks. I think it's like this incineration tank. Just looks like it's like got pipe organs on it, and freaking immolating flames coming out like doot doot doot. Yes, angry people. No augmentation, but crazy saved rolls. Yep. And like they're all about Biggie, the Emperor. And they just have like a lot of very Catholic imagery to them. So all that stuff you see in like architecture and whatever in the 40K universe, like they just do it to like the nth degree. Like their tanks look like chunks of a church incarnate. It's neat stuff. I can get down with that. Yes, correct, exactly. And a tank called the Exorcist. So they have this unit called the Triumph of Saint Catherine. It's literally a procession with a funeral casket, not funeral casket, like a relic casket with this old saint's body in it and a bunch of people around it, and like that leads a procession into battle. It's really neat stuff. Very different. Very aesthetically cool. If you look up the Triumph of Saint Catherine, it's like, oh, okay, this is how we roll. Like, you know, the Militarum shows up with like very westernized looking military units. You know, the Space Marines show up with high tech and bulky stuff, and then Sisters of Battle show up with like church bits. That's how they do business. Anyway, I think that'll be super fun to paint some of that stuff, and to just have an army lying around for a friend to play if I get a quick pickup game. I'm finding more locals that are friends of mine already. I have found out through the grapevine, just people I haven't talked to for a while, from like previous jobs and stuff around here. I found a few people that are like, oh man, during quarantine I got into Warhammer. I heard you did too. So I'm quickly, I think, getting a roster of a few people that I'll be able to play with, which will be awesome. That's a good question. I think it kind of does, if I remember correct. Let me fish around here a bit. Wahapedia. That's the fetid bloat drone. Let's find factions. Septus sororitas. Clues. The Triumph of Saint Catherine. It has a bunch of different auras that go around it that are pretty nasty. So it can do stuff with miracle dice. It adds a bunch of. It's not quite Ark of the Covenant. Not quite, but it's actually a leader unit. So like it gets put into a squad. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh, there's a Warhammer crossover with Magic the Gathering. Psh, please, of course there is. I think there's like a Mortarian Magic the Gathering card. So much crossover. I do love me some Magic, but yeah, definitely. I only play with my kid now. I gotta be super careful. It's so easy to just break the bank on Magic. Not that I'm not breaking the bank on models, but gotta pick and choose. Pick and choose your battles. All right, this guy. Death Forest greening up a nice base coat all over the place. I'm absolutely a hot mess when it comes to airbrushing, but I'm getting a lot better just by practicing priming models. It does take a lot of learning to get good with an airbrush. I am very much not there. Prime these guys with it. There's a lot of just technical stuff with doing an airbrush that's kind of a pain, but the practice I'm getting with it is also teaching me how to clean the thing and all that stuff. It's like owning a gun, I think. It feels like it. Yeah, Hasbro's kind of in a weird state. A buddy of mine who's essentially a toy designer, really trying to work with Hasbro. And he's got friends there and all that stuff, and they've just gotten really weird over their IPs lately. Like, seems like they're just like they need to rally around and figure out what the heck their stance is on their IPs and their usage and all that stuff. They need a strong position, and I don't mean strong defending their IP stuff, but like they've just been unclear and zigzaggy with how they handle that stuff, and you really can't do that in this day and age. You have a lot of people making content for you, and I do understand you got to defend your IP and all that, but you can't always just be reactionary and weird about it. Yes, yep, there are too many ways to go wrong. It's interesting because, like, if you think about, if I made a Mickey Mouse movie that was generating revenue, people would be like, wow, okay, you're probably getting sued by Disney. But, like, for a lot of other contexts, People are like, why are you shutting this thing down? It's like, it's fan support. And it's like, yeah, but you got to defend your IP somewhat. It's a weird state to be in. And it isn't just fanfic anymore, because you can generate revenue on YouTube and a bunch of other channels for it. So, like, where do you draw the line? Yeah, I have almost no magic cards. Like, I have enough for a few decks. I have basically like a booster box and then a couple starter packs that we use to teach my daughter how to play. In fact, she ends up getting some just from like school activities and stuff, which I'm like, man, that's amazing how far we've come. I don't want to say I was like a pariah when I was young because I was playing Magic in high school, but like there was no club for it where I got free stuff. That's for sure. There was no D&D club at the library where you could just play in a campaign whenever you feel like it. It's good stuff. I'm glad she's growing up in this era of nerddom. Germany is a hard country with money. I've never gotten into Yu-Gi-Oh. Only the memes. I was old school Magic enough. I never actually got into Pokemon. Like, as a card game. The only things I've ever engaged with in terms of the Pokemon franchise directly, though the show gets watched in this house quite a bit now, so I should sort of retract that. But Pokemon Snap, I played back in the day. Pokemon Go, I play to this day. But I didn't go through the entire arc of Pokemon-ness that my wife's side of the family did. So I cannot name them all. But that's fine. It's good stuff. I love it. It's just, I was time-wise out of sync. When it was rising in popularity, I was having very little time to be involved in such things. Like, my dad was picking up Pokemon cards. My dad's a card collector just in general. He's like, I think these might be worth something someday. But I was absolutely out of that loop. My dad's a smart guy. All right, this looks pretty decent. This is just base coating before I drop a bunch of grime down. I have new grime, which is nice. Slimy grime. I have slimy grime dark. Did get a refill of it, but I also have slimy grime light now. Yeah, absolutely. And I will actually share it with my wife and my kid. The more the merrier. Yeah, that'd be awesome. And frankly, in a very similar to Gotta Catch 'Em All sense, it's really awesome getting stuff from across the world in Pokemon Go. It's really quite a hoot. I went on vacation to Hawaii a few years ago, and it was like super awesome to be able to send all my friends stuff from Hawaii. I go out to San Francisco every once in a while for like game developers conference and stuff, and like Pokemon group is always out there. They basically rent out a whole plaza, like a park, and turn it into like a Pokemon gym zone. Get special stuff out there and just send it to people from far away. It's a really interesting world connective kind of dealy with it. Oh, the other interesting thing when I was in Hawaii is there was a lowland Pokemon everywhere because I was in the Pacific region, which is pulling them left and right. It's a neat component of that game, the global geography component of it. Just grimy paint. Death Forest Green. Good stuff. Oh, this model looks so terrible. It is absolutely in that early adolescent phase of base coats. None of the pretty's been added to it. No washing, no dry brushing. Just glop. Lament it every time, but it's true. Hits home. Buena is like an actual Pokemon arena. That's pretty awesome. All right, should I clean this brush a little bit? Oh yeah, it's a good plate. Look at this guy. He's excited to be here. You know what? I may stop painting this guy soon. I gotta do a few more things to that. Whatchamacallit? Demogorgon. See if he's ready to rock. This guy can wait. Alright, so I gotta look up what one of these portals from Stranger Things looks like. Try to emulate that underneath him. And I'm wondering what the best way to do it. Stranger Things portal. I could use some glowy orange. I think I'm just weird. That's not gonna look all that good. So much work. It should probably be more orangey. It should. There we go. Grab some neon orange. Keep messing with this thing. We'll get there eventually. And then I can put some creep around it. I don't know how to do the creep yet. But I think that will sum things up. It is a commission. It's for my stepson's friend. It's one of his D&D minis. So I did get a little bit. I can't tell. Every time I look at this monitor, my eyes have to adjust. There's some blood for the blood god in there. He's been nice and dry brushed and washed, so he's in pretty good shape. Take care. Have an awesome morning. There we go. As I look at this picture, it's probably a little better. Darken this up a little bit. Not a lot. I basically want to have like streaks going across this thing. This brush may be too much. I'll just light orange it up a little bit in here. I don't know how I'm going to do this. How do I get it to look like that? I hope I don't have to glaze this thing. Might have to. And eventually what I need is like things that look like cross stringiness That's going to be a challenge. Blizzard, at some point you were talking about something like using crazy glue or something like that to get like stringiness between stuff. So I do have the luminescent paint in red, but it's not very red. But then I mixed it with some more red, and it sort of got there. Ish, my friend. But I think I went a little too light on the center of it. I'm just gonna glop a bunch of stuff in here, make it look chaotic for now, and then I'll go over it with glue with Blood God for some texture. Do you mean? But you're not talking crazy glue. You're talking like Elmer's glue, right? Just what I'm thinking. I could add a little basing material and sort of mold it a little bit. This is going to be a challenge. Oh yeah, no, the brush goes bye bye. That's for certain. But I have an entire roster of brushes that are like on the way out. That's no biggie. I'm wondering if I could go in, if I paint around this with basing material, crazy glue and sodium carbonate? Really? Like baking soda? All right, well, I don't know that I'll apply this right now, but I do like to experiment with things. So I've got super glue. I'm just going to dab a bunch in the bottom here. Back there. I've got blood for the blood god. Do a chic. And I have deeply condemnable brushes. So I can practice, set that guy aside on this thing. And I do have to make sure that I don't return any of this blood or any of the crazy glue into this blood for the blood god thing. But in theory, oh, that gets stringy fast. Oh, Bankman, what have you done? All right. Can you see that like piece of glort? I know it's not a real word, but that just popped together in no time. Ooh. Like a couple chunks of that strung across. That could be curious. Of course, now I got to get more. Can I just pour it? Oh, I can. For science. Question is, do I want to do this with grime? Does something terrible happen? In fact, oh, there we go. A Let's add all the components at once. Madness. Okay, if I can get this to blurt together, I'll just use the same brush. If I can get a couple of those blort chunks going across it, I think we're going to be winning. Oh my gosh, this is so weird. I might have to put gloves on. Blort bits. Oh, that's actually hot. That is doing a chemical reaction. That is actually painfully hot. Oh, this is good science. All right, put that down. It has a heat reaction. Oh, sorry. Ah, got a little burnt. All right, so that is grime. Stringing this. I'm getting these like weird stringy chunky bits, which is cool. I mean, I handled one of these and I think I actually burned my finger a little bit, which is amazingly cool. There's like an immediate reaction. You got to be like super fast with it. Do some pulling. Yeah, like that is hardening. That thing is hot right now. I can absolutely tell. It's smoking a little bit. Can you see that? It is like hot hot. I think it's burning the brush. Oh my god, this is so wild. We're doing science the scary way. That crap's dangerous. Smoking. All right, well, at least the bottom of the tray is not too crazy. All right, so that's cooled off. So I'm thinking is, I haven't done it properly yet, but like a couple of strings to travel the warp. You got it, buddy. A couple of strings across this thing. I might have to like chop them up a little bit. But like this crap glued to the base. I need a couple tiny strings is what I need. A couple little. Does this stuff break apart? Does it play nice when you break it apart? I hope so. That would be dope. Couple of stringy bits. Okay, so clearly what I want to do is get some crazy glue and just run it across and then peel it out. But in the absence of that, just get started. If this had some fiddly bits just going across this thing, I think we get the effect we're kind of looking for. This guy needs to be broken down a little bit. He's a little huge. Snap. Maybe not directly attached to it. So much going on right now. This is chaos. I do have my near 3-year-old exclaiming, "This is chaos," pretty regularly now, which I'm very proud of. Apparently it's late and I've got the shakes, but in theory, lay a bunch of this crap down, and it'll look like the glorp that sort of comes out of the portal in a lot of those pictures. The glorp that's around it. Careful about it. I mean, it kind of looks like that picture, like the one that's in that wall. Close enough. I think I'll need some tinier threads. I think I can basically just base around this thing. I can get my dexterity up. Tinier tweezers. I absolutely scorched myself. It's a good thing my fingers are already blistered as all heck. Alright, is there a way I can physically show this to you? If I get enough of this crumpy stuff around the edge, I think I get kind of a decent effect of what we're looking for. Plop some more in. It's close. It's close enough. Start him young. Yeah. She has a more DACA t-shirt. I actually have to get her a new one. Make her a new one. I'm not going to buy the next one. I'll just make it myself. She loves that shirt, but it's gotten too small. She does have a great, what I won't copy. She's got a Orc Decision Tree t-shirt as well. Having your kids say more DACA is pretty awesome. So yeah, so anyway, I do think with all this crumpy stuff around it, whatever that portal thing is underneath, that I can't show you. That looks a lot better now that I've coded it a few times. And if it's backdrop to something, I think I'm in pretty good shape. So yeah, not too shabby there. You do got to start it now. All right, I think I will continue to experiment tomorrow. It has gotten late. It's been a great stream. We had a lot of very solid strides. I'll keep you all posted as to whether or not I buy a knight or a bunch of Adeptus Sororitas or both. I got a small check in the mail from my mortgage company because my escrow account had too much money in it. The temptation to just go dump it on models is pretty high because I got none. Anyway, it's been a pleasure. Thanks a bunch. We'll stream some more this weekend, and I'll keep you posted on more lore stuff that I'm working on. Have a great night, afternoon, day, wherever you are. Be good. Bye-bye.